Well, hello and happy Monday. It is June 9th. Can you believe we're like halfway through the year? Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on my live stream. This is your live weekly dose of real estate reality. My name's Jackie Baker. I'm a real estate agent here in Northern New Jersey, and we talk about all the fun stuff that's going on in the housing market. So thank you all so much for being here. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. There's 10 states where the market is shifting for sure. Last week I talked about how there was 500,000 more sellers, more buyers than sellers. It's happening, guys. It's happening. It's going spreading nationwide. So we're going to talk about where those 10 states are. Who knows? Maybe you can score a bargain. You can get a house at a little more reasonable price than what we've been seeing the past 5 years. Okay, but before we get into it, I got to bring in my pal. You know her, you all know and love her very well. And let's bring her back to the stream. Miss Jen Sylvester.
Howdy, howdy.
What's going on?
Oh, all kinds of things. I've had one less child in the public school system as of today.
Congratulations. Yeah, so Jen's daughter graduated high school on Saturday. That's awesome.
It's crazy. So I'm a little hoarse from graduation and hosting a party and having some fun.
Good
Just
stuff.
Talking and hosting and talking and hosting.
I hear you. Well, congratulations. And, I got to put our names up here. That would help.
Onward and upward.
Sorry.
Got my tea. My tea with honey.
Tea?
I'm good.
All right. Also, really quick before we get started, you see the comment up top. If you recently got an offer accepted, you're under contract, you closed on a house, let's talk about it. Let's celebrate it. Share the wins. I want to hear about it because the housing market, it's stressful, but people are still buying houses and we want to celebrate the wins. All right. Thanks for putting that up there. My producer, Jen G in the background. Okay. So Ms. Sylvester, let's talk about what the heck's going on in this ever evolving housing market.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about it. We got 10 states. Hold on. Here we go. Coming at you. 10 states with the biggest housing market inventory shift. At the end of May 2025, 10 states had more active housing inventory for sale as they did in May of 2019. I think this is a good sign, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
We need this. Okay. Here we go. Let me go here. Okay. When assessing home price momentum, ResiClub believes it's important to monitor active listings and months of supply. If active listings start to rapidly increase as homes remain on the market for longer periods, it may indicate pricing softness or weakness. Conversely, a rapid decline in active listings could suggest that a market is heating up. Okay, generally speaking, local housing markets where active inventory has jumped above pre-pandemic 2019 levels have experienced softer home price growth over the past 36 months. Conversely, local housing markets where active inventory remains far below pre-pandemic 2019 levels have, generally speaking, experienced more resilient home price growth over the past 36 months. Okay, so let me go down here. National active listings are on the rise, 31.5% between May 24 and May 25. This indicates that home buyers have gained some leverage in many parts of the country over the past year. Some sellers' markets have turned into balanced markets, and more balanced markets have turned into buyers' markets. And more balanced markets have turned to balance. Nationally, we're still below pre-pandemic 2019 inventory levels. At minus 12.3%, below May 2019. And some resale markets, in particular, big chunks of the Midwest and Northeast, still remain tight-ish. Okay, now let me go down. Where is the charts? Jen, I know you like this Fast Company, like I do, because of all the data they give.
Yes, I do. I think they do a good job with slicing and dicing it and going a little deeper as opposed to just giving like, oh, it's 30%. Great. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that actually look like?
So if you look here, okay, so green shows active inventory levels in May of 25 are higher than May 2019. Brown, active inventory levels in May 25 are lower than 2019. For comparison purposes, each state has an independent scale. So this goes through every state, right? So if you see here, right? So the green, it's more levels in May. Sorry. Oh my God, levels are higher than May of 2019. So look at all these states we have. We have Colorado, Texas, Florida. I mean, okay, we knew about Texas and Florida. Colorado's coming in there. Washington, Tennessee. I say it every week. What happened to Tennessee, and why is is it the same thing? Are they like
Building.
It's the overbuilding, right?
Yep.
I mean, I didn't think they were building that much there, but my God. So we have Arizona, Idaho, Utah, Hawaii, and Oregon. These are the ones that have higher. If you can see right here, look at how high.
Hawaii surprises me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so darn expensive there.
True.
You know, who can afford that? Who can afford that? But if you look here now, we have the rest of the states, you know, they're in the brown, which means there's still inventory levels are still low, but you know, they're creeping up there. I know, like in parts of North Carolina, they're starting to, those towns are starting to shift. I think, like in Raleigh, I've heard people have been on the stream before that have talked about North Carolina. South Carolina is definitely starting to swing the other side to a buyer's market. But you can see here, just it's those 10 states right now where we're seeing the shift happen. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? You all have leverage now. If you're going to buy a house in any of these markets, you have more leverage. Now, Jen, you're up in Massachusetts.
Yep.
And tell me, what's happening?
Well, Jackie, reporting live from Plymouth, Massachusetts. So I'm Plymouth South Coast. So I'm about an hour outside of Boston. And what that means is like Boston area, immediately northwest and south of the Boston area, you know, before you get into the burbs where I'm at, it's still bonkers. It's not bonkers in the sense of 2021, 2022, but things are selling quickly, you know, and it hasn't shifted that much. I would say it's very similar down in our way. The things that I'm seeing, and we're seeing this in the hot markets, is the prices aren't necessarily cooling. Buyers are becoming more sensitive to proper pricing, much more sensitive. They're watching the data. They're watching what is sold. They're not. They're more concerned about overpaying, as they were a few years ago, when it really was just about, what do I got to do to get my foot in the door? Now they're pulling back and they're saying, okay, well, you know, what is this house actually worth, and is it worth that to me? And am I willing to do that right now? And it's now more than ever, I'm telling all of my home sellers, it's price and presentation, which has always been important, but now it is critical, because if a house is put on the market even slightly above whatever that market value is for that area, you're cooked. The buyers are not going to budge. They're not going to move, you know? And so I think that even when you're looking at this data, Jackie, and I'm sure you would agree, like you look at this data and you take a place like, you know, Tennessee or South Carolina or even Florida, you can't lump an entire state into one data point. You can't. It's going to, you know, the East Coast of Florida is doing differently and faring differently than the West Coast. You know, Central Florida is their market is different than the West Coast and the East Coast. You can't look at it as a whole. You've got to dissect the different and keep that in mind. You know, when you read an article and it says, oh, you know, Florida prices, Tennessee prices, Colorado, whatever, you know, is you know, the inventory is up and you know, oh yeah, why can't we walk in with an offer 10% below asking? You've got to be really in tune with your area, because I think the data also misleads on how it's the mainstream media. Jack, we talk about this all the time.
I know.
The mainstream media, you know, pardon my French, they suck. I know. Can I say that? Can I say that?
Yes, they do. Yeah, you can say that. That's fine.
You have inventory. You have a sensational headline that says, "Oh, there's 500,000 more home sellers," you know, and now all of a sudden every news outlet is saying it's a buyer's market. I have a graph actually that I used on my live stream last week. Can I put that up on the screen? Do you mind?
Yeah, I think you can. Hold on. Let me stop. Hold on. Okay. Go for it.
Let's see here. Good grief. Let's see, which one am I on? Sorry.
Okay.
I gotta find it. I'm not queued up here. Here it is. So, oh, you got to put it on, I think.
There it is. Okay. Sorry about that. There you go.
So this graph, let's see if I can make it a little bigger. So this was last week. And this as a whole, to kind of give you an idea of like where the nation is, because it is, I think it's not misleading in the sense that, oh no, we're not in a buyer's market. No, definitely the market is definitely shifting. You know what I mean? Where we were, solid, everybody was up in the red for a long time, and now it's slowly coming down. But this on average from 2018 till now, you can see like it's starting certain areas, certain starting to dip. Not everybody is, we're not there yet.
No.
The whole, you got to be super careful with the data. You can't.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, I was on your stream was it last week? I was on your stream.
You were.
I was.
Oh my goodness.
How can
you know what? This whole graduation party's got my head all in fog. More than usual.
It's okay. So
we talked about this. I just wanted to reflect on it,
But it's gonna take years to get back to a balanced market for the entire country to be back there.
And that, I will say this, Jackie, there is no such thing as a full balanced market. It's just like, I was listening to a podcast years and years ago, and they said, in life, everybody's looking for balance, that quest. I want balance in my life. I work too much or I play too much or whatever. I want balance. There's no such thing. Why? Because there's the unknown element of life. So it's not, coming to a balance, it's balancing, which means you're going to offset. So we're going to teeter, and we'll teeter into a buyer's market. Then we're going to teeter back into a seller's market. But the whole idea is to hover in that center.
Yep.
And right now we've been because of the financial crisis. The great financial crisis is when things went south.
Exactly.
And the recourse on that whole debacle, we went straight in. Once we started that rebound, right, Jackie, it went right into a seller's market.
Yes.
Why? Because the builders stopped building.
That's exact. You're
builders stopped building. And that is
right.
why we couldn't keep up, why we have this inventory problem to begin with, because people didn't stop making babies.
Yep.
And the millennials are the biggest, generation to come along. If they were a smaller generation, it wouldn't be much of an issue, but we've got a big generation and we've got to create housing for them.
I know.
And we haven't been able to keep up. So it's going to take decades to get, in a crash, all a crash is going to do is create more problems.
I know.
Because
we got to be careful what you wish for. I hope it doesn't take decades. I mean, I'd say maybe 5 years. But
maybe a decade.
You could be right. You could be right. But
put it this way, they've been building, right? They've been building since 2018. This really started. They ramped up during COVID. Now, if we look at Texas and Florida, Jackie, look at Texas and Florida, and all we hear is how dilapidated Texas and Florida are.
Right.
Their numbers are not. It's not a strong buyer's market down there right now.
Not yet.
It's a balanced market.
No, but parts of Florida is. Parts of Florida is big time buyer's
a little
market.
bit. But I'm sort of saying the total. If you look at the total inventory numbers, those numbers are way significantly more. But that was because they were depleted so far. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you have an empty cup and you put in a big cup full of water, and now you've got this much water in an empty cup this big.
Yep.
Yeah, you've got some water, but it's not enough.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. That's the situation that we're in. Why that graph I just that we just looked at, why it's not there's nothing in the blue yet.
Right.
I don't think we're in a strong buyer's market yet in a lot of areas. I think that the market as a whole is just, because a buyer's market would mean what, Jackie? Sellers are either that buyers are able to get deals and sellers aren't budging.
Well, so speaking of deals, look at this win here. April Lee Wax Queen, thanks for chiming in. Huge win. We closed escrow today, sold our house in San Diego for 10,000 over asking price, 0 concessions, got our offer on the first day we listed. Good for you.
See, now
Good.
that kind of illustrates my example, Jackie, because we've been hearing a lot of news in California that yes, their market is slowing. But here you go. San Diego over asking.
But listen, but only 10. Listen, that's you won't see that here where I am right now. Still. I just so here's what I'm someday defect. Hello. It stopped raining. Yes, now it's over by us now. It's rain. Like I can't take this rain anymore in Jersey. Pflugerville, Texas. Hello, Leslie. Thanks for being here. Aunt Zag. Hello from Westchester. Thank you for being here. Not far from me. What was I going to say? Oh, but I talk about it all the time. So talking about buyers, buyers pulling back. Literally 3 hours ago on my third listing, this happened to. Buyers backing out during attorney review. And they're saying it's because, he has an emergency. He has to leave the country for 3 to 4 weeks. And we're like, but it takes about that long to close. Like he'll be back when it closes, like what's the problem? And it's because people are getting nervous.
Yep.
One of my other listings we're on our third buyer. The first 2 buyers all in, then they're like, yep, nope, not going to happen. The people, I agree with you. People are starting to panic a little bit. They're worried about overpaying.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd say panic.
Well, I would say panic. They're not panic, but they're being smarter. They're being smarter. They're like, I'm not going to get into this. Like, I went on showings on Saturday in this neighborhood, in this town in down central Jersey. The homes are notoriously going, 150 upwards towards 200,000 over asking price. Now, when we were running the numbers, the comps to talk to our buyer clients about like, what should we be offering? They were just like, they weren't prepared for that. They're like, you think it's going to sell for that? I'm like, well, if you look at the history, it's possible, but we don't know how many offers are on it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what this is. We say to them, like, I don't have I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you, but this is what the data shows us, right? Some homes, similar homes like this that were renovated, same square footage, went anywhere from 15 upwards to 30% over asking price. So it depends. Like you got to weigh everything. You got to look at the location. And the condition of the home. Now again, it was all renovated, and now they're like, well, I don't want to go 30% over, because you do have those one-offs who are so desperate and don't give a crap, and they're gonna go 30% over asking price. But I don't think we're seeing too much of that. Like the listings I've had, they didn't go that far over asking. They got over asking, but not a crazy amount.
I think that the pause button that's being pushed, as scary as it is maybe for home sellers, that uncertainty is definitely what the buyers need, is definitely what the market needs.
Yeah.
Because it's helping the market correct. It's helping the market breathe. It's like, you know what, you gotta purge, you gotta do some, take a step back. And the thing that I like what's happening, Jackie, is that, to your point, what you just said about buyers just like going in ahead, gun ho, and that FOMO, fear of missing out, that was a big problem during the pandemic years. But in like areas like yours, and even like I'm seeing some of that here, it still exists, and that stuff's scary. That slow. Not in my general nature to like move at lightning speed. I like to like take a step back and like weigh it all out and do all my research and all the things. And I push my people to do that, and they're able to do it now, which is a good thing, because sometimes you take a step back and you're like, you know what? Maybe I should just pause for 6 months.
Right. Yep. And it's okay. That's okay. We're here for it. We're here for it. So I want to get through some of the comments and the questions right now. So we have here, NM says, I put a bid on a condo, but someone bought it. And then I saw another one with the same setup. It was $11,000 in HOA and tax a year, and called a townhouse. I have to wait and check regularly. That's a lot. 11,000 between tax and HOA. JM, hey, welcome back. Saw a house in Long Island drop $60K, but saw it has a solar panel lease. Sounds like a red flag. I like solar, but the lease sounds scary. Yeah.
Do your homework.
A lot of people are turned off by that, because you have to take over that lease, and nobody wants to deal with that. And plus the cost of removing the panels, forget about it. I want to know who sellers are. Are they looking to upsize or downsize or move to a different state? Not sure, Peyton. Everybody's like, it's all life stuff. What people are moving. I'm in hi, Amy. I'm in Middle Tennessee, and some sellers refuse to drop the prices. Yes, this is another problem.
And that's what could be happening in Tennessee.
You're right.
Who knows?
It very well could be, but it's going to take time. And I'm telling, we went on a listing appointment last week. My partner and I, Stella, oh my God, we were talking to this guy, and we were just like, you got to get real with your price. He had it on the market, didn't sell. And I told him, he goes, I only had 10 buyers come through. I go, yeah, you had 10 buyers come through because you're grossly overpriced. I said, I'm sorry. I said, it's a beautiful house. I said, but the location isn't ideal. You have no backyard. There's a lot of negatives here. And I said, your price it's not worth it to them. They need to find value in this, and there's no value in it. And didn't want to hear it. And, so we moved on. Like, he's like, okay, that's fine. He didn't want to hear it. Like, well, you know what? You're in for a rude awakening because you're going to list it with the next agent. And if they take that price, which darn well, they're going to do that. They're going to go with the higher price. He'll say, I'm not going to get it. Amber says, I'm in North Carolina. We closed on a home May 2nd. Got it 4% below listed. Seller paid $10,000 in closing, repaired HVAC system with our choice of vendor, and gave $2,000 for other repairs. Good for you, Amber. Congratulations. I love it.
See, there we go.
That's a win. See, but North Carolina, you see right there.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Not all doom and gloom.
Yep. Tim, thanks for joining us. Just saw a listing in Southwest, I'm assuming Southwest Florida, for what they paid in 2021. And while I understand Zillow was not 100% accurate, my house in South Jersey went up $20K last month. So be careful with these estimates.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a real number, a value of your home, get with a real estate agent, have them do a market analysis. If you're thinking about selling, don't rely on Zillow.
Nope.
I mean, it's not far off. Your house probably did go up, especially
maybe not though. It depends on if they've done a ton of updates. It depends on what compared to the neighbors.
Yep.
If they use comps on their algorithm, that the comps are either more updated, maybe they have more, more amenities than yours does. Zillow's not going to know that.
No, they're not. So don't rely on that Zestimate. Everything I want is so far out there. Is no local market to compare to. So they priced their homes north of 100,000 per acre and 500 per square foot, non-flood, that is. Yep. That sounds about right about the pricing strategy. TS Squares, is it true that once permits are approved, a builder can't change the bedroom, bathroom count or exterior elevation, even if the construction hasn't started?
I wouldn't say that.
I don't think that's true. No. I think you can change that.
It depends on the builder. It depends on the builder, because if the builder has already paid for permits and they have everything in place, to make any changes on that plan would mean to have to apply for more permits and go through that process, which is more expensive. And then it changes the timeline, because now they can't get started right away. So, but you got to check with the builder.
And then you could, as far as the permits, you got to get all that approved again. So now you're taking up more time with that. Kim White, I'm closing on a pre-foreclosure on June 30th in Burlington County. Thank you, Jackie, Jen, chat, for your knowledge and support. Congratulations, Kim. Love it.
Can I offer some advice to Kim?
Sure.
Kim, if you can, go on the registry of deeds. If your agent hasn't done so already, hopefully they have, go on the registry, make sure that there hasn't been any other foreclosure filings, any announcements or any public auction announcements. The last thing you want is to find out that there's a public auction scheduled on June 27th, because they will not stop that auction for you. They will not.
Thank you. Okay. Kat, how are you? Bought in Ocean County, Lacey Township 10 months ago. The value of our home has increased over 100,000 since then. It's crazy.
Jeepers.
I'm not surprised. I say this all the time. The shore is going to be booming by 2028 when what goes in? Netflix. I'm telling you.
Hey, my kid is going to study film production in the fall, Jackie. And so we're 4 hours from you guys down in Jersey,
Yeah.
and I'm excited because that means that there'll be jobs for her when she graduates.
Yep. They're planning on
Massive
1,500
amount
of
of
them.
jobs. She won't have to go to LA.
See? I know. I'm telling you, it's gonna be insanity. MK, hello from Vegas. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Hey, 90, it's been a while. How are you? Smash the
Smash the
like.
like
Thank you
button.
so much. Appreciate it. It's so good to see old faces here. Appreciate
Easy
it.
with the old
What?
there. What are you
Oh,
trying to
you
say
know.
about me?
Okay. For always, forever, for life. Thanks for being here. Hit the like with 215 and only 36 likes. Subscribe and share. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I love my audience.
No, your community is good community.
CC Crary, hello from New Braunfels, Texas. Thanks for being here, fellow Coldwell banker agent. Go CB.
Every
Go
time somebody
blue.
says New Braunfels, I don't know about you, but I think of falafel. I don't know why. I always think of falafels when I hear New Braunfels. Just a fun fact.
Okay, falafels. April says, I think pricing your house right and staging is critical. Absolutely. Listen, like Jen said, price and presentation, and that is key. If you price the house right, it shows well, you're going to fly off the market for sure.
Yep.
Ken says, here in Long Island, home prices is still going up and selling pretty quick. Yeah, Long Island is still, it's another hot one.
It's huge. I've had quite a few folks reach out for referrals, and every referral I have a really great team. You do as well.
Same
and
people.
Every time it's like it sells like hotcakes. It's just like people are just,
Yep.
grabbing them up.
That's the Long Island for you. Poppy says the North Carolina market where we live has slowed way down. Houses for sale and sitting on the market for months. Sellers have to cut prices. Offers are being canceled by buyers. Yeah, you see, Jen, I said that before. Like I've heard this North Carolina. It's shifting. Well, the Carolinas are shifting.
You know what? It stands to reason if a buyer puts a house under contract and they react emotionally and maybe they offer over asking. And then if it happens quickly, you start seeing properties and the property down the street that just comes on the market. And it's very similar to the one that you're buying, but it's like 20,000 less.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you want to back out and cancel your contract? I know I would.
For sure. For sure.
So yep. I can almost guarantee you that's has a play in it.
Yep.
Oh,
thank you.
Appreciate you.
Oh, my poor neighbor, he just wants out and willing to take a huge loss. On market now, 4th week, 40,000 below comps, one looker, no offers. Northwest Houston, Texas. Wow.
He needs a better agent.
Yeah.
A good agent will be, this is the thing. This is where I can't stress enough about interviewing multiple agents, getting one that actually, because I'm telling you, Jackie, I don't know. There's no perfect agent. There's no perfect scenario. However, the folks that I refer out we don't get stories like this.
No.
Because these are the agents that are professionals. They know how to read the data. They also know how to educate the home seller and tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
Right.
And that way you end up in a winning situation to price it because the buyers are out there. If I see that somebody says, "Oh, I can't sell my house," that's not true. That's BS. You can. You're in the right church, the wrong pew.
Right.
You know what I mean? And having somebody to tell you which pew you should be sitting in.
Yes. Another win. It closed a few weeks ago. Got a lot from the seller and under asking price. It definitely depends on the market. Congratulations. I love that.
Yeah, I'd like to know where they bought.
Wait, you know what, Jen? So to add to that, talking about the agents. So that appointment we went on last week, this guy wants to sell his house. He said, "Oh, the other agent, he only brought me 10 buyers." I'm like, no,
that agent didn't.
Your price brought
you how the process works,
right? And I go, no, your price brought you 10 buyers. That's it. I go, that's
yes, Jackie.
Your price.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me tell you. So me and Stella, I can't wait for you to meet Stella in person. Stella is just like me. You want to talk about a straight shooter? I mean,
there's two of you on this planet.
What? Yeah, there is. Yes, believe it or not, another Jersey girl like myself, and I felt so bad for this guy. It was like we were beating him up because he was arguing with us, and then we're like, "Yeah, no, you're overpriced." And this is, I mean, it was pretty funny. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think he wants to hire us now, but it's okay." Critfish, we are looking in the KC area. I've noticed houses typically dropping 10 to 15K before they sell. That's a good sign too.
Yep.
So keep an eye on that. See if they come down even further. But yeah, keep your eye on the market, guys. You know, it's things are definitely shifting. Paul Stevens says just closed escrow last week. Congrats. Cash offer 1 week after listing got 20K over, closed in 5 days. It happened so fast. What? What? You closed in
Wow.
5 days? How's that possible? That would never fly here.
Is San Jose, are they a title? Do they use attorneys or title companies
I
with
thought it was
closings?
title in California.
Okay. So that, I
I
mean,
thought
if you have all that stuff prepared ahead of I mean, is it possible to close
I
in
mean,
a
we
week?
can't even get title closed in 5 days in Jersey. I mean, like, you need at least, like, a week or 10 days to do that in
Yeah, I would say
Jersey.
same. I mean, here,
Yeah.
even with the attorneys, it's at least, yeah, at least 10 days. At least 10
Yeah,
days,
at least, right.
you know, to get the title
Um,
back cleared.
uh, Wookie Brown says, "What about New Jersey? Looking for a house, but all the good ones continue to sell quickly." Unfortunately, that is still the case here for New Jersey, and it's not changing yet. Yet.
And it probably, I mean, Jackie, the thing is even during the great financial crisis, right? Yes, we took a hit, but I mean, speaking for Massachusetts anyways, we took a hit, but it rebounded relatively quickly in the
Mhm.
sense it was a couple of years, but still compared to everyone else, you know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
demand, especially over the last, uh, gosh, almost, last 15 years, Netflix studio going in. Like
Mhm.
every time you turn around, there's businesses being brought in. There's, new colleges, there's new medical centers and all the things, reasons for people to come here into the Northeast
Yeah.
area.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think it'll the extent up here, I would I would say don't wait for it to be, dropping 10%, 20%.
No, I
I
don't
think
think
it's
it
just
will
gonna
drop
soften a little
10%.
bit.
It's gonna I think it's we have there's definitely a correction that's gonna happen, and, this guy that we follow, he's a real estate he runs a real estate valuation company here in Jersey, and he does, like, quarterly updates. He does these webinars, and he's been saying for the past couple of years, "We're eventually gonna get back to a price appreciation here in Jersey of, like, which was at a normal of, it was
4.5%.
4 to 5%."
Yep.
Right? That, like, it hasn't
That's the
happened
50-year
yet.
average. That's the 50-year average is 4.5%.
Right, but even if you look at the data from 2019, like, prior to the pandemic, that's where we were at, like, about 4.5% appreciation, and he's saying we're gonna get back there, but I guess it all depends, it's all gonna depend.
4.5% in the way things are going, in a typical economy, at 4.5%, the reason why it's survived 50 years and why it's worked and why it has remained that and that signals like a more balanced market is because wages can keep up with that. The
Mhm.
problem is that when they went up, the prices went up 20%, 30%, 40%
Yeah.
in a couple of years. I don't know about you, Jackie. I haven't talked to anybody where their wages, unless you decided to I don't know.
No,
I
no,
decided to go
definitely
into
not.
something else. But
People aren't getting
do you know what I'm
raises.
saying? It's
Yep.
got you got to get into into a rhythm where wages and it doesn't affect affordability at 4.5%. It does it keeps up it remains in line with affordability,
Right,
but it's going to take a
right.
while to get back to that.
Kelly has a question. I'm wanting to make a cash offer in Foley, Alabama. How much does in-ground pool add to the
Oh,
price?
we can't answer that.
Yeah, listen, a pool, it's what is it worth to you? Everybody's different. So
So
if
here's how I approach that, Kelly. I want you to if there was another house, try to find a comparable property that's as close to yours as possible. And just imagine that those houses were identical in every way, shape, or form. And you were the buyer. The only difference being one had a pool, one did not. How much more would you pay for that house? That's the
Mhm.
value of the pool. The
Yep.
value of the pool is what the buyer's willing to pay. So if you say, I'll give them another $5,000, that's the max that I'd pay to get the house with the pool, then there you go.
Right.
That's the value of the pool.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for your bit of wisdom there, Miss Sylvester. Boston Cheryl, thank you for the super chat.
super chat.
Awesome, awesome. Cheryl says in North Carolina, resale market is suffering. because there's a ton of new construction. Also, you guys are great. Love you. We love you,
Thank
Cheryl.
you.
Thank you so much. Yes, because of the new construction. And I talk about it every week. I had the same situation with my property down in Delaware is because of the ton of new construction. That's what's impacting these markets. So you got a lot of new builds. There's a lot of choices. That's why. Gabriella has a question. We are thinking of selling something in California and buying in Florida. My question is, should we wait to buy in Florida till after the summer because prices would go down?
That's a tough question. I
I
talked to a client today that I'm going to help them sell their property up here, and they're moving down to Florida. Jackie, I mean, we don't have crystal balls. We shouldn't, nor should you, would want someone to hang on our words. However, if it were me, I'd wait. If it were me, like my folks told me, I didn't advise it, but they told me they're going to go down there and rent. They're going to lease for like 6 months and take their time checking out areas. Yeah. I don't see the slide in prices. I don't see that stopping. You know what I mean? Now, keep in mind, Florida's busy market it starts in the fall.
Yes.
It's not like the normal. So once you get to August, end of August, September, Jackie, thereabouts, like if you wait until November, you're going to be right in the thick of their busy season, and you won't be, the chances of you saving money are going to be, are going to be much slimmer. Yep. So you just got to be careful with that. Yep. Okay. So before we move on to more questions, even when a house is priced right, buyers still want a low ball. So yes, that is true. So before we move on, Jen, I want to share another story here. Hold on one second. Getting off topic a little bit. Did you know, Jen, that there's a town in Italy where you can buy homes for $1? Did you hear about this? Sign me up. I did not. Sign me up too. So I thought this is pretty cool, but it says here, 2 brothers are tracking down dollar homes in Italy and they want Americans to buy them. Now, really? Yeah, it says if you're dreaming of buying a property being a property owner in Italy, there are deals out there if you're willing to put in the work. Throughout the country, there are dollar homes for sale, and 2 brothers are making it their business to help people snap them up. Antonio and Carmela Cuchera look for old properties and place them on the market for €1, which is a little over $1. Their real estate agency, Vero Affare, which is good deal in Italian, is providing just that, a good deal, but there's a catch. No town halls are involved here. It's just between private buyers and sellers, and we lays. So they're the middleman. A 55-year-old former honey producer and melon grower told CNN, old owners who want to get rid of their abandoned family properties contact us, and we place all listings online with photos, but don't sell sight unseen. Interested buyers must come in person. Many times a down payment is required to buy a property, but these sales require no guarantee and no money down, the brothers explained. Properties sold by town halls usually put a 3-year time limit on completing repairs, but there are no rules here. Future property owners can buy the rundown old house, the brothers added. If they don't feel like renovating or remodeling it, they can leave it alone as a crumbling relic and own it for just the pleasure of watching it all fall further into ruin. Dollar homes rise in popularity in Italy. In recent years, Italy has become famous for its dollar home offerings. This is a scheme that was conjured up by Olalai in 2018 in a bid to revitalize the local economy as residents moved away in search of bustling metropolitan areas. Then in March, the town of Penne in the Abruzzo region started offering similarly attractive deals to anyone willing to invest the time and money into restoring dilapidated property. So did you know this, Jen? So it goes on to say bargain hunters from all walks of life are snapping up these homes, including the soprano star Lorraine Bracco. I freaking love Lorraine Bracco. I do too. The lifelong New Yorker cemented a strong tie to her Italian roots in 2020 when she purchased a dollar home 5 years ago, which she still owns to this day. Bracco, 70, who was born and raised in Brooklyn, now lives in the Hamptons. But 5 years ago, when the opportunity arose to snap up a home in Sicily,
where her father's family's from. She leapt at the chance, even documenting her renovation of the dwelling in the HGTV's hit series, My Big Italian Adventure.
No kidding.
Isn't that funny? I know I got to go back and watch that. I still have my 200-year-old villa in Sambuca de Sicilia in Sicily. I bought it for €1 in 2020. The sparse town was hoping to attract residents. My renovation was featured on the TV series My Big Italian Adventure. The people there are so warm. During her renovation of the home, Bracco told HGTV that she'd be splitting her time between New York and Italy to oversee the work that was being done on the property, which was in a very rundown state and needed a drastic overhaul before it could be lived in. So, it all sounds well and good. Like, yeah, sign me up. It's $1.
Right.
But yeah, you got a lot of work to put on.
You got a lot of strings attached.
But sure. I mean, it's cool, but it kind of makes me sad. It's like, God, all these abandoned homes, because people just flocked for jobs and for work. They left these little towns. It's really sad. But I don't know if $1 is going to bring people over there. Honestly, it's just who's got the means and the time to be traveling back and forth to be overseeing a renovation.
Yeah, I mean, but the flip side is with times are changing.
Yeah, times
are changing. More and more people, are finding ways to work remotely and all the things, and if that may flip.
Yep.
That whole scenario may flip.
Never know.
Yep.
Will 8 says, you helped me so much understanding what to look for and how to handle all the stress and nerves. I turned 32 last week. My wife and I have saved about last 8 to 9 years. Will, thanks so much for sharing that. And I'm happy that the content that I'm doing, that Jen does, this is why we do it. It's for that, to help you guys understand the process and try to ease some of the stress, because it's so flipping overwhelming. Okay, can you discuss the difference between open house versus by appointment showings? Which is better for the seller? Oh, Kat, this is a great question. So open house means it's open to the public. It's put out there on MLS, on Zillow. You'll see open house Sunday from 1 to 3 or 12 to 2 or whatever. So that means everybody in the public is invited. Now, if you do just showing appointments, and I do this quite a bit because my sellers lately don't want millions of people coming through their house, because especially here in our market, you'll have a line out the door and down the street at an open house. They would rather have it more controlled, and they'd rather have scheduled showings. So they know they're coming with a real estate agent. The buyer has been vetted. They're a qualified buyer. So they would prefer that. So I've been doing that quite a bit on my listings, where I'll just say, we'll just do scheduled appointments. And this way you don't have, will it limit you? It could. If there's people that want to, you never know. If there's an open house, somebody could drive by and they'll stop in and they'll fall in love with the house.
Is that happening?
What?
What are the chances of that happening?
It does happen, Jen.
Well,
it happens.
It happens. No, though, Jackie.
But it does.
I will respectfully disagree on the sense that someone doesn't wake up and be like, I need to go get some bread and milk. Oh, wait, there's an open house. Oh,
no, not like that.
It doesn't happen. There's forethought.
Not like that, but there's somebody.
But the thing is there's forethought. If there's forethought, that means they're online. If they're online, they see the house. And if they see the house, they can schedule an appointment. And I would rather have a buyer that comes with a buyer agent, where the buyer agent has their pre-approval. Make sure they're not just looky-loo tire kickers that are just curious about the house that's down the street because they always wondered what's like inside. Yep. You know what I mean? I just think that back when I got my license in '96, before the computer, I didn't have a computer. When I got my license, it was a book, and information was key. Yeah, open houses. That's why we had open houses back then, is because people couldn't get into the houses. The information wasn't available. But now the information is all over the place. They don't find out about a house through an open house. And even if they drive through, they're still going to drive by. They're still going to want to vet it out. And I don't know that I want a buyer. Here's the thing, Jackie. I don't want a buyer making an emotional decision on a whim, making an offer on something
Yeah.
that ultimately they end up getting cold feet because once they have a chance to think about it, now they're canceling the contract.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know? So I think,
agree.
I don't know, I feel having seen this industry and how open houses work, I've seen, I had one of my coworkers was attacked at an open house because it can be dangerous because you have strangers in the house.
Mhm.
And I've seen, uh, the reality of it is most of the open houses are done so, agents can get more business. They can get more clients,
It's
and
true.
that doesn't benefit the seller. I think the only instance for an open house would be from a scheduling perspective and then have a scheduled open house. So in other words, that would be the difference. That'd be like a combination, Maya, of the two, of an appointment and an open house. So say you work on nights and you need people only to come between, 8 and 10 or 4 and 6.
Mhm.
Then then at that point, we could schedule an open house and say this is a 4 to 6, but it's not a public open house. It is a scheduled open house. And then we tell the agents, come anytime between 4 and 6.
Right. Yep.
And you get all the showings done. There's still showings with agents though, which means
Yep.
they've been vetted. So it's kind of the
Mhm.
combination. That I do think is a good idea depending on the situation. If you have scheduling issues, if there's seller has health issues or health challenges or there's kids or pets or whatever, and it's hard to just leave on a dime, I think that's a good way to go.
Yep.
But aside from that, Jackie, I think I personally, when I sell my house, I will never do an open house.
No.
I don't want
I would
strangers
just want showings. Just
approaching.
get me people I just want the qualified buyers. That's
Yep.
it.
I don't want
I get
strangers
it.
walking through and opening my
Oh, I
medicine
know.
cabinet, my, whatever not, because the agent's down in the kitchen, greeting people. I just don't feel comfortable with it.
No. I
So,
know, listen, during the pandemic, whenever like, if the
well, that
seller
was
did want
different.
an open house, so, like, but if a seller did wanted, an open house, I had to bring in extra agents with me to manage the traffic because it was so bad.
Mhm.
Um, Maya has a question. What is considered a legal bedroom? Saw a listing in New Jersey and the realtor labeled the dining room a bedroom since it has a closet and could be converted. Yes. If there is a closet, it can be a bedroom.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree.
Well, that's Jersey. Yeah, but that's New Jersey.
That exactly. Check with your building codes because, um, I'm in Massachusetts, so I'm not gonna speak on a federal level, but you wanna check to see what their requirements are. Here it has nothing to do with a closet. We have houses that were built in the 1600s.
Mhm.
Didn't have closets. Doesn't matter. It has to be 75% above grade. So if you
Right.
have a room in the basement, if it's not a walkout basement, doesn't matter. The room has to be 75% above grade, and
Yep.
it has to have 2 forms of egress, which usually means a
Okay.
door and a full-size window. You need 2 ways to get out of the room.
Okay.
So if you have those 2 and you have, like, an armoire for a closet, you have a bedroom.
Okay.
So it's a combination of that, and you gotta check if you're on septic, private septic, you need to find out how many bedrooms that septic system is
That's
rated.
right.
Because even if you have 5 rooms that could be bedrooms, if the septic system is built for a 3-bedroom capacity, you could never sell that house as a 3-bedroom. Could you
Mhm.
use it? Nobody's gonna come in your house and check to see if you're using a room as a bedroom,
Yep.
but you can't sell it that way.
Right. Will says, I think my other message got lost, but I'm closing this week on our first house and got 40,000 under and 25,000 credit in Salinas,
Holy
California.
smokes.
Man, that's like win of the night. Will, congratulations. That's
Holy cow.
amazing. I love it.
I'll give you a little bit.
Congrats.
I'll
I
give you
love
some
it.
love. Here you go. That's awesome.
Maria, can you expand on when the open house is for a home to be auctioned? Like, how is the inspection process done? Shouldn't I want an agent in that situation too? So you're talking about buying a home on auction, like a
Yeah.
foreclosure auction? Am I understanding this right? And
I
how
I
do
I would assume that and
okay.
yeah, and
So
there is no
there
inspection.
is no inspections. If you're buying a foreclosed home, I mean, you do an inspection for your own, just so you can know about the house, but there's no inspections, like, you can go back and ask for repairs or credits to the bank. They're not gonna do anything.
No, you show up at the auction, you give them a non-refundable deposit,
Yep.
non-refundable cash, a cashier's check deposit. There is, could you get an agent? Yes, but they're not paying for an agent. There's no negotiation with a bank on an auction,
No.
for an agent. You pay for that agent out of your pocket.
Yep.
Do I think there's value? If the agent has experience in foreclosed homes, absolutely.
Definitely.
If they have experience, you don't want just any run-of-the-mill buyer's agent. You want an agent that has firsthand experience buying or selling foreclosed properties because they'll understand the process, because the process is different.
That's right. Is attached garage considered living space?
Depends. Depends if it's been converted.
Yeah, but
If
not if it's not converted, definitely not.
No.
But you can convert it. You could convert it to living space. Brandon says, just sold and I'm renting for the next year, but I'm seeing houses I would be interested in at good prices. Will buyers be better off in a year? It's hard to say.
Oh man, that's a crystal ball question.
That's a total crystal ball question. It's really hard to say. I don't know.
It could be, Jackie, if things go south with the economy and things start tanking on Wall Street, I mean, Brandon, you could be out of a job. That's not better off.
Yep. No.
You could have a job cut. I mean, there could be a multitude. Interest rates could go higher. So the prices will go lower, but the interest rates will go higher, cancels each other out.
That's right.
It really, there's so many things that are happening right now.
So many things. I know. Gabriella says, oh, this is the second part. Still for sale. You both have videos talking about this, and I'm thankful for the advice. The owner is desperate for an offer, but why are people still trying this old trick? And now I got the ick. What was the first part? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Gabriella. It was a while ago. We got so many people in the chat.
Let's see if I can find it, Jackie.
Oh, here it is. Here she is. One of the homes looking at, very interested, is on the market for more than 6 months. When my agent contacted the seller's agent, she said they got an offer that day, 2 weeks after. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I've seen this happen. And you know what I love? When the agents, it's been on the market for months and like, oh, we have multiple offers. Get out of here. Get out of here. No, you don't. No, you don't. So
okay. However, I love playing devil's advocate because this has happened to me where maybe not 6 months, but like 2 or 3 months goes by and then it only takes one buyer. And then out of the blue, a buyer surfaces that's interested. At the same time, another buyer. Rhyme reason doesn't make any sense.
It can happen. It can.
It does happen, but I know what you're going to say, and I agree with you that more times than not, if it's what I call an 80% agent, which is the crummy type that you want to avoid like the plague.
Yep.
They're playing games.
Yeah.
Playing games, and there's not much you can do about it. Yeah. Because you can't insist on seeing the offers. You can't call their bluff. I mean, the only thing you can do is by calling their bluff is not make an offer.
Right. Exactly.
Don't make an offer, or just make the offer you intended to make anyways. I've done that, Jackie. I've done that where a seller's agent will tell me, oh, there's multiple offers. And then I talk to my buyers and I say, listen, I don't want you to think about those other offers. I want you to offer what you are willing and comfortable to pay for that house, regardless of how many offers are on the table.
Yep.
And then they make an offer and then the sellers accept it. And as it turns out, there was no other offers. So you kind of call their bluff. And if they're not bluffing, then you know what? If they're making their offer that they're comfortable with and they don't get it, then they don't get it.
Right. Yep. Zana says a closet makes any room a bedroom in New York, and no matter the size, if it's lacking a closet, it's not a bedroom. The state to state variance is interesting. Yes, it is. Yep. That's New York and New Jersey for you. Got to have a closet if you want a bedroom. Daniel, if a house has gone to foreclosure, can a buyer put in a non-cash offer to the bank, or does it need to go to auction? It depends. It depends. So if you're getting some of these foreclosures, they're damaged. They may have mold. There's all sorts of things wrong with it. And a lender is not going to give a mortgage. They won't lend you the money. So they're going to require cash buyers only. So it all depends on that. So if it hasn't got, okay, Christopher says, never be afraid to ask a realtor if they would ask the seller to carry a note, seller financing. That's a good point there. Gabriella said, last house I bought, that same trick was played. Oh my God. You know, what the heck? That is wise advice, Jen.
Can I share my screen?
Maybe. If you have, oh wait, let me just answer JM's question. It says, totally agree, Jen. Couldn't an escalation clause help call their bluff too? Are they required to show proof of other offers at that point? Yes, but depending on where you are, like here in Jersey, they don't like escalation clauses here, so we can't use them. They won't take them. Oh, here, Jen, let me pull up your, let's share. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so this was Redfin. This was published, actually updated April 10th of 2025. Does a room need a closet to be considered a bedroom? It says, what are the legal bedroom requirements to be classified as a bedroom? A room typically needs to meet specific criteria. While requirements vary, here are the common standards. Okay. Minimum size, manager's jurisdiction, bedroom, 70 square feet. Egress, talked about that. Emergency exit has to have at least one operable window and exterior door. Ceiling height generally needs to be at least 7 feet. Ventilation, adequate airflow is required. And lighting and electrical access. Building codes often require a bedroom to have at least one permanent light fixture or 2 electrical outlets. It says, what about a closet? It says, well, so where does that leave the closet? If a room checks all the legal bedroom requirements but lacks built-in storage, does it still count as a bedroom? It's common to expect a closet as part of the functional room. However, it is not legally required for a room to be classified as a bedroom in most areas. Okay. Most areas. So I think that even, you may say, oh, in Jersey or New York, I would challenge that. I think in Jersey and New York, it is probably the same as this. I would challenge this.
Scroll down. Say the expectations can vary. Scroll down because I see New York City here. Hold up, right there.
It says that said, expectations can vary depending on.
Okay, New York City doesn't require a closet, but it has to have square footage and egress requirements.
Yep.
Yeah. See, like my town, they definitely, you have to have a closet. I just, because I've been through this so many freaking times.
So that's the thing is that you'll have the building codes from a federal level. Right. But then you'll have layered on top of that, the local building codes. Yeah. So the local building codes can't cancel it out, but they can at Plymouth, where I'm in, they do that all the time. They'll take whatever is required and then they layer on, well, we want more. We want more requirements and restrictions. So it sounds like in your town, that's exactly what they're doing for you guys.
Yep. All right. Hey, Clark, how are you? So glad you made it. All right. Stella, I just saw a house that looked really nice, but it was cash only or remodel loan. I wonder what that meant. Meaning that if it looked nice, if it was cash only, there's other problems going on with the house and a regular bank's not going to give a loan. That's why it's asking for cash or a remodel loan. Yep. That's why. What else we got? I believe in order for a room to be considered a bedroom, there needs to be a window and 7 feet ceiling. Yes. New York City needs a closet and a window. All right. Thank you for that.
A hot topic of conversation tonight.
I know. What makes a bedroom a legal bedroom? You both don't wear capes, but are truly my heroes. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That is so sweet.
That's like the best comment I've gotten. This is great.
I feel that makes me so warm and fuzzy.
I know. I love that. Thank you. You're welcome, Kat. I'm glad we can help you guys out. Maria, you're so welcome. You are so welcome. Okay. What else? I found my house at an open house, viewed it at the open house and asked my realtor to show it to me privately. I never would have asked to see it if I hadn't had the chance to see it at the open house. See, there you go. Open houses have their benefits.
Well, do they have their place, or was it because of the agent requiring it, or because of the seller, because the seller's scheduling requiring it? So that's what you know what I'm saying? Like if they can only see it at the open house, because I see that all the time here. It drives me crazy. It's like, oh, they're only going to allow open house for 2 hours. And if you don't see it during the open house, you're screwed. Well,
Well,
Really?
we do a lot where the showings begin at the open house. We won't allow people in the door until the open house, but that's just how that's how we roll here. Amanda, I closed on a condo in Westchester County a month ago. I bought at the top of the market, now selling my old house, and the market is so slow. So I've decided to rent it. You know,
Mm,
congratulations on the purchase, Amanda. But listen, there's nothing wrong with that, renting it out. You
nope.
know, make some money on it. Taryn, what strategy do you follow to put offers in the correct market to avoid overpaying? Wow.
Comps.
Comps, that's it.
Comps. Yep.
That's all. You gotta look at the comps. We look at what has sold within the last 3 to 6 months. We try to go, like, 3 months, but
2 to 3 months.
right, we try
Uh,
to, but I have lately, Jen, I've had to go back further because not a lot of homes are selling because we have such low inventory, so I gotta go back even further because I know the appraisers go back 6 months max,
Yep.
but you're gonna look at the comps, you're gonna see and you also have your agent look at what's under contract because you can see the days on market. If the house went under contract, like, within a week, you know that house more than likely went for over asking price. So
You
what?
bring up a good point. What I would do is ask your agent for your um, the market data for that town for the last 6 months to
Mhm,
see if there's been, an adjustment to the median sale price, not the average, but the median. If
mhm.
there has been a drop in the median sale price of, say, 1% or 2%, and you have a comp that's 6 months old, take that comp, now drop it 2%. Now that's your current comp. That
Mhm.
comp now reflects what the value would be if it sold now versus 6 months ago.
Great advice. Great advice. Wouldn't the comps be all too high? Yeah, if you went back 6 months, right, like what Jen just said, you wanna look at the median price over the last 6 months, and if it has dropped, like she said, make that adjustment
Yep.
to what the price would be
That's what
now.
the appraisers do.
Exactly.
That's
Yep.
that's where the appraisers go through that same process.
Um, what would you recommend someone buying a house and they hate their job but make good money? Um,
That's a
that's
philosophical question.
can't tell you. I wouldn't recommend, it all comes down to you. I mean, do you hate your job? You're gonna change jobs, change that job first if you want before you go buying a house because, or what if you hate it, you hate it so much and God forbid you get laid off, you
Yep.
know? I'd be looking for something else, honestly. Oh, we love Jackie makes everything house buying understandable. Thank you. I try.
Yes, she does.
And Jen helps our sellers, which is great. See, we just compliment each other, you know? Um,
Peanut butter and jelly.
yes, there won't be any young people in New Jersey in another 30 years if prices keep climbing. You're right. That is my
Until the
biggest
studio
fear.
opens.
What? Until what?
Until the studio opens.
Until the studio opens. Yeah, but you're right though. Nobody can afford to live here. It's really sad. Like a lot of kids who went off to college doing their thing and they wanna come back and buy something here, forget it. It's like it's near
It's the
impossible. It's
same
very
same way
sad.
in Massachusetts. It's the same exact
Um,
way.
Love Bella. I'm considering purchasing a home in New Jersey. Should I wait for the home prices to lower in New Jersey before buying? Looking in Bergen, Teaneck, Dumont. I work in New York City,
Mhm.
so I need close to work. They're not gonna lower. They're not gonna it's Jersey's gonna be the last frontier as far as home prices are concerned. If we are gonna have some type of correction in the future, not much. Don't
So,
expect like a 10%, 20% price reduction. That's not gonna happen.
you know
I'm
what you
just being
might see,
honest.
Jackie? You might see speculative, price appreciation. As that studio gains ground
Yeah.
over the next year and a half,
Yep.
and the more the finish line becomes in focus, people will start flooding in anticipation of all those jobs and opportunity. So there'll be an
Yeah.
appreciation, a
That's
speculative
right.
appreciation before it even opens.
Yep. Yep.
So do I think if I was looking in Jersey, I would be looking now.
Yeah. Yep.
That is my
Good
feel.
point.
If it, I mean, what's the chances of that studio not happening?
0. They broke ground. It's happening. It's
Yeah, I
coming.
mean,
Can't stop it.
we were supposed to have that studio here in Plymouth. That we were gonna
Ah,
be the Hollywood of the East,
see?
and the investors it never broke ground. We never got to that point because it was this close. All kinds of campaigns and all the things. And then,
People put the
one of the
kibosh.
investors, it was some money stuff going on that wasn't quite, on the up and up. And the whole
Okay.
thing, crumbled, but they never broke ground. They were about to on the cusp, and then the whole thing fell apart. But
Now we got it. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Tony says, how many transactions are not closing?
that's a hard figure to know.
It is,
Because
yeah.
those aren't tracked, Tony. There's not the, a deal that doesn't that gets put together and then falls apart. There's no tracking mechanism for that. I mean, I guess in
About
MLS,
that a few weeks ago. There was a talk about, remember I did a stream about this. It was like 56,000 contracts.
transactions.
But that would right, but that was really in Texas and Florida. I mean, nationwide, I mean, who knows? But yeah, it is hard to track. It is. Amanda, I watched both of you for a year before I pulled the trigger to sell. I was in my Larchmont house for 30 years. My realtor asked me if I have my license because I knew so much. Thank you both. We did our job.
I love that.
I love that. We did our job, Jen. If people are
yes, ma'am.
If you're in real estate, you have your license. We did our job. Interesting codes, region to region. The first section of National Building Code books is a paragraph that states authority having jurisdiction, or AHD. It gives the county, city to make requirements. Thank you for that. Someday defect.
I think some counties have ADHD.
Is it a bad idea to pay over asking price just because you want the house so bad?
Not if it's worth it to you.
If it's worth it to you, yeah, that's exactly it. If it's worth it to you, then no. And if you're just your forever home, it'll appreciate in value over time.
Jackie, the value is what it's worth to you. The thing that was making, I mean, yes, a lot of people paid more than they should have and had regret, but a lot of people paid more intentionally because it was worth it to them. And a lot, I heard there was a lot of talk about, oh, these people are idiots, they're stupid and they're foolish. It's like, well, this is not a business decision. This is a home.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be in a neighborhood because you grew up there. You have ties there. You've always wanted to live there. Finally, a house comes on the market and it's just like the one that you envisioned or the one you grew up in, whatever. You'll do whatever you can do to get in that door.
Yep.
And the money is just money. You can make more money. Money but you can't create another opportunity if it means that much to you.
Right.
So there is no overpaying. It's just you can make as long as you can afford it.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. My kids live in Central Florida and are looking at both resale and new construction. Do you have an opinion on which would be better purchase value in the market right now? So with new construction, what's nice about new construction is a lot of builders are offering incentives, like credit on the closing cost, like $20,000 towards closing costs, rate buy downs. So when it comes to affordability, new construction may be a good option just because of all those nice little perks that they're offering to lower that monthly payment.
Research the builder.
But thank you. Research the builder. Be very careful with that. If it's one of these big name builders, I don't know if you guys saw the video I did about that. Be careful if it's one of these big name builders. And what I would recommend is if you are going to move forward with one of these builders, hire your own inspector to come inspect some phases of the build.
And don't go directly to the builder. Don't skip the buyer agent piece because the builders do not care about
you. They don't. No, and definitely, yes, get representation. Get an agent with you for sure. Don't go directly. Don't work directly with them or like their sales office too.
Yeah, you're not going to save any money.
Yep. Kurt asks, how do you value a lake lot in northern Wisconsin with no comms? It's a large, unique lot that's a peninsula. The tax assessment went from 50 to 200K. At that price value, I feel I should sell.
It's the highest and best use of the property, Kurt. It's the highest and best use. So what you need to do is you need to find out what the average cost per acre is for the similar has a similar attributes. So if it's buildable, you want to find another buildable lot. If it's landlocked, you want to find another landlocked lot, et cetera, et cetera. And you've got, if it's on a peninsula, it's got, water frontage, how much water frontage. try to find something that is not exactly, doesn't have to be exact, but you've got to find the highest and best use of that property. If it's a property that can be subdivided, it will add more value, but you got to find the per acre price, and that you may, shop, then you can, and then you just do the math. And that's what I typically do when I are, have large lots. Not often, but when that happens.
Thank you for that. Justin says, what are your thoughts on purchasing a manufactured home? I think manufactured homes are great. It's a great affordable option, but just be careful if you're purchasing it in a park, in a community, because you are going to be paying a lot rent or land lease on top of that. And that could be very expensive. So say you pay whatever, $100,000 for the manufactured home, you're going to be paying in some situations, you could be paying like $500 to $1,000 a month just for the land that your home sits on. You're paying rent to them.
Talk about, Jackie, though, the difference. He may be talking about modular. Manufactured versus modular, where you own the land, is different. So,
well, but manufactured, that's mobile homes. We don't call them mobile anymore. We call them manufactured.
And he may be because he's also asking about 3D printed. So he may be referring to modular, not, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people interchange modular and manufactured, right? They're not, and they're two totally separate entities.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about 3D printed homes, which I haven't
seen one in person. I've seen them. I've watched videos about them.
Texas has like several communities that they're doing. It just, the price has to come down and has to be streamlined. The process has to be streamlined to bring the cost down, but the advancements are very impressive.
Yes.
I think.
It's very cool. One of the best places in terms of cost and income ratio you highlighted in a previous video is the greater Cincinnati area. Houses here are taking longer to sell. It's the best time to buy. All right. Thanks for sharing that.
Cool.
Net Namaste. I just signed a contract for a townhouse condo in Somerset County. We're in the attorney review period. Prices in the area are dropping. Should I try to renegotiate during attorney review? Probably not. I don't think so. What you, once the contract is signed, I mean, you could, it's probably not going to happen. I don't think the seller's going to go for it, just being honest with you. That's been my experience. But, if you're not comfortable, if the prices are dropping, then back out and wait for another one. That's exactly back out of the deal. Back out of it and wait for the next one. If buying in New Jersey, don't wait. Timing is everything. We would not have been able to afford our house 10 months ago. It is true. It is true. I mean, waiting here, prices just keep going up, and I need it to calm down a little bit. What are your thoughts on Rockland County as an alternative neighboring area to Jersey? Rockland, listen, it's a good option. I think the prices are a little bit better than Bergen County. So that's, the only thing with Rockland County, I would tell you, if you're commuting into the city, it's a little more challenging. They don't have a direct train line from Rockland. So you have to either take the ferry from over in Haverstraw, you take the ferry over to Ossining and you take Metro North into the city, or you would take a bus or you drive, or you can drive further into Southern Rockland to catch the Pascack Valley train line to get into the city. So it's just a little more challenging to get into the city. So that's the only negative. I mean, I lived in Rockland like practically my whole life. That was the biggest challenge, is commuting to the city. He's referring to modular. He'd like to purchase land, then build a house on it, or purchase a third 3D build modular. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, I mean, modular homes are great too. They're great options. Hey, I'm going to be doing a video about these kinds of homes in the near future, so stay tuned.
On the modular, the only thing I would say, Justin, is, and a lot of people skip this step, go to the factory. Like physically go to the factory to meet with them. You want to see how they're put together. You want to see the floor plans in person. You want to talk to the people there in person. It's a great way to interview and know, that you're not getting a fly-by-night company, and do your homework, because not all modular companies are created equal, like anything else. Like, a builder.
Yep. Cloud says,
I would agree with this statement right here. I do agree with this.
Yep. Better construction quality and higher code standards.
I do agree with that.
All right. My house is appraised by the tax office at 350, but houses in the area have been sitting for a while, even selling 50K under. What is y'all's thoughts of the seller's market in the Austin, Texas area? So we've heard, we have a good friend, Jen and I, we have a good friend that is a realtor down in Austin, Texas. Austin has, it's been shifting for a while.
Yep.
It's houses are definitely sitting a lot longer down there. And it's been that way. I mean, my God, Jen, like since
at least a
year, right?
Yeah. And I would expect your appraised value on depending on how your county appraises, when they reassess, that'll go down. I fully expect your tax assessment to go down. Here's the tricky part, because they do it up here, and I'm sure they probably do it everywhere else. What'll happen is the county requires, this is just a little warning so you don't get false hopes, the county relies on that money from your pocket to pay for infrastructure and all the things in the town. So what they'll do is, as the values drop, they raise the rates. So your value, you may get an extra $10 in your pocket or $15, but you're not going to see any significant savings in your monthly tax bill, because they need that money. They're relying on that money. So they'll raise the rates. They did that to us during, we saw that during the great financial crisis.
Yeah.
When the values dropped, all of a sudden the rates went from, single digits to double digits per thousand on the tax assessments.
Yep. All right, we're going to do one more. Is Massachusetts softening too, or is it more like New Jersey? Hoping I didn't overpay. Husband had me delete Zillow to prevent buyer's remorse. That was very smart of your husband. Delete Zillow once you buy a house.
Yeah, it's Massachusetts is very similar to Jersey, not quite as ridiculous, definitely not, but it is not anywhere near like any other parts of the country. It's definitely, we're not going backwards. In other words, we're not seeing any depreciation. I don't foresee seeing any depreciation. We're just, instead of getting 6 or 7 or 8% appreciation, now it's down to 3%, 4% appreciation. It's more normalizing. So it feels like it's slower, it's softening. Really, it's just normalizing.
All right. So Jen, I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
I just want to share it with everybody. If you guys don't know, Jen's got a pretty freaking awesome channel all about selling your home. Please go show her some love and go check out her content.
Live stream every Tuesday night, tomorrow
night? Live streamed every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So please go check her out. And really quick, if you guys need to be referred to a real estate agent in your area, or if you would like to work with myself and my team, if you're looking to sell or buy here in Northern New Jersey, please go to this link, jackie-baker.com, fill out the form, and I will get back to you ASAP with a agent in your market. So, Jen, thanks for the discussion. Appreciate you being here. Really
always blast.
Yes, always fun. So, everybody, thank you all for joining us tonight and being here, and we will see you all next Monday evening. Thank you for being here. Have a good one.
Be good.